And I'm sure my intro was over. Peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the July 20th edition of Rhetorically Speaking. Props to those of you who are watching on. I'm gonna get to the YouTube people first, man, because I definitely appreciate y'all. Shout out to the people who are watching on YouTube Live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, Quantify LLC. Props to those of you who are tuning in on Facebook Live. And hello to the folks who come in and out on IG Live. I don't really pay y'all no mind because y'all don't be knowing how to follow directions. So listen, man, we got a nice little show, some nice conversation. We love to hear your thoughts, so make sure you hit the chat up. I'm out here July 20th. I took Thursday off because I was a little fatigued. I actually took some days off from posting on social media and Facebook. For those of you who saw me today, I was in my posting bag. I was charged up. I felt like Drake when he made charged up, like it was just something going on. I was saying it's echoing on Facebook. Why is there an echo? Let me see. Let me know if that's any better. If you still hear an echo or not. I don't know how it be happening. It might be just your setup. B Smith, props to you. But no, let me know if that's any better. Um, so I took a couple days off just because again I had to get my mind right. And lo and behold, in the midst of these 3 days, it's been a lot of conversation, a lot of things pertaining to my specialty, which is black mental health. Again, let me know how that's sounding out there. All right, thanks, Ash. So you try to tell me it was B Smith. You know what I mean? I don't know where he at right now. He might be in a chamber somewhere locked up. I don't know what sister done got you locked up, brother. But let me know if you need help. Let me know if you need help. So, I got my hairline out. I'm still waiting for it. I'm growing my hair back right now. I'm in that awkward phase. I had a hat to put on because it's doing a little zigzag thing right now, and I'm just like, I don't even necessarily know. Like, am I supposed to have a baldy now? I went from having locks, and I don't know what the locks did to my hair, but my hairline is coming back a little flicked, and I'm kind of nervous. So for those of you who do pray, for those of you who do believe in the Most High, pray for a brother, pray for a brother, pray for a brother hairline. So, like I said, I've been posting up a storm today, and it's all been around that same topic of black mental health. In particular, just the burden that celebrity has on black mental health. It's not necessarily a conversation that we have here in the black community when it comes to mental health. I believe we're in the infant stages of conversation, and it's evident with the first person that we're going to talk about, Mr. Kanye West. But we're in the infantile stage of understanding mental health, where we look at it as being solely about depression and anxiety, right? And so I laud the community. I laud the community for just being willing to have the conversation, because for so long it's been that unspoken truth within the black community. I mean, we got to look no further than what's that, soul food, right? With Big Mama having Uncle Joe in the back room, right? We didn't really talk about that when we saw that, but now if Soul Food was to come out, we would have a conversation about, well, why is Uncle Joe in the back room, right? Because we understand that it has something to do with mental health. So I salute the community, but we have a ways to go. We have a ways to go in this conversation. So I'm gonna get right to it. Mr. Kanye West, again, a few of his albums are some of my all-time favorites. I respect him for the artist and his artistry that he has given the world. Just seeing anybody excel at what it is they desire to excel at is a beautiful thing. But I think for so many of us, we took for granted, right, what it is that they had to offer, myself included, and where it was stemming from, because we didn't really have a deep understanding of where it was coming from. And so with Kanye this past weekend, and I'm going to get this picture off of here, this past weekend, Kanye, we know he said he wavered back and forth about whether he was running for president. To date, he's on the ballot in one state, Oklahoma. But he was in South Carolina trying to rally, trying to get support for, I don't even know. At this point, he can't be on the ballot at this point because it's too late. He didn't get enough of the signatures and complete the requisite forms needed to be able to get on the ballot. But he still had this rally. And so this rally yesterday in North Charleston, South Carolina, his bipolar disorder, which he's open and honest about and has been open and honest about for several years, the symptoms of that was on full display yesterday. I'm not going to go into this whole breakdown of what bipolar disorder is. Just think about it. There are two polar opposites, right? You have your mania, you have your depression. It varies between individuals. Some individuals have mild to moderate symptoms. Some individuals have extremes. Me working in a crisis center and being a therapist for X amount of years, I've seen all sides of bipolar disorder. And with that, when I sit and watch him now, I sit and see somebody who at various times look like they're experiencing mania, right? And so we look, what's mania? So again, he's very excitable. We look at the pressured speech, not being able to connect thoughts. We look at sometimes delusions, right? You can be delusional, which there's a psychosis aspect of bipolar. Again, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but this can manifest in itself of this, when they say Kanye has a God complex, right? He thinks so highly of himself. It can manifest itself in that way, but to the extreme, right? Because a lot of these individuals, especially those in the creative arts, just anybody, if you want to excel in any field, you have to have a certain arrogance, a certain level of confidence about you. But again, it's when it gets to that extreme, when it starts to impact your relationships, it impacts your ability to produce. So many people laud Kanye for him giving his life to Christ. But for those of us within the profession, when we saw him giving himself to Christ in the manner in which he did it, how it was, everything is an extreme with him. So it wasn't just let me start reading the Bible, let me talk about how God has been good to me. No, it's I'm going to throw myself into the religion, right? I'm going to throw myself into the religion. Everybody around me, no, you cannot have sex. No, you cannot drink. No, you cannot smoke marijuana. These are the things that he told the people around him. And so again, we look at it and we say, oh, that's great because spirituality is one thing that's celebrated, especially Christianity here in America, right? But again, it's that extreme example of it and the extreme belief system where for many of us who are in the profession, we're looking and saying, you know what, his bipolar disorder and symptoms related are rearing their I don't want to say ugly head because that's kind of that's inappropriate to say, but it's rearing their head, right? And so with Kanye, he started having these he started making these statements related to Harriet Tubman, which again, if you have no understanding about bipolar disorder and your only understanding of mental health is from a depression and anxiety perspective, then when he make these comments and he's unable to connect thoughts, when he unable to connect thoughts and be coherent, so when he says Harriet never actually freed the slaves, she just had them work for other white people, it then automatically shifts to speaking about the NBA and white people. Some people might want to shoot him bail, and I saw that on with some of the comments. But for those of us who again recognize that there's a disconnect that exists, that's transpiring within his brain, it's like, oh my gosh, here he is on the stage, on the platform, and he's going to get the stage, he's going to get the platform for what he's done musically, for what he's done in fashion. So, and he's always a soundbite. He's a polarizing figure, and so whether right or wrong, people are going to continue to push this microphone into his face. But if you were able to watch the entire thing, I watched bits and pieces of it. I was able to see just the range of emotions that he showed in the midst of this, which again showed somebody who appeared to be unstable. Again, I'm not his therapist, right? I can't diagnose him, but I'm just going off of my professional expertise and what I saw with him. This is somebody who clearly, it's not even a matter of not being on the right dosage of medication. This looks like somebody, or the right medication. This is somebody who isn't on medication, and uh, it becomes obvious when again we see the behaviors, not only the course of yesterday, because we look at the entire picture too. We start looking at how he's been behaving within the last few weeks, right? Some people want to charge it to him having an album come out. Again, that's a part of it. That's a part of it. That's where a part of his quote unquote genius comes from. Again, his ability to be in a studio for 15, 16 hours on end, staying up for days and days on end, which could actually have triggered the bipolar disorder, right? Throughout early in his career. And so we just see the results. Again, that's one thing about mental health. When it comes to celebrities, we don't really necessarily pay attention to what's taking place in the moment in time. We just worried about our needs being met, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's acting. And I'm gonna get into Nick Cannon and Tamar Braxton, how again it manifests itself. And so again, he poured everything into his music. And that genius again gave him amazing albums that I still play to this day, albeit reluctantly, right? So when we talk about the range of emotions that he showed during this time, we talk about the crying. Now people may say, well, you know what? He's talking about abortion, and him puts his mother not aborting him, even though his father wanted him to, or how he didn't want his daughter, and how Kim continued on. Yes, we recognize that that can be emotional, and people can cry from that. But again, when we look at everything that's taking place in its totality, we look how easily triggered he was by the young lady who made a comment to him, and he automatically snapped at her. Right? It shows an inability to regulate his emotions. Again, because he's in this manic state. I encourage people to think about what Kanye might be experiencing when he isn't in the limelight. Because within the last few weeks, he's made himself known by the presidential comments or what have you. But prior to, he was kind of laying low. And we noticed this with him, where when it appears he's in this manic state, he's out and about and he's everywhere. But then there are months on end where we don't hear from him at all. Now, that could be a result of him potentially being on medication, but I doubt it. A part of me think that it's the opposite. It's a depressive state of bipolar that he might be experiencing, even if it's in a mild fashion. But it does enough to subdue him for months on end. And so I think when I see these, in particular when I see the post on the Shade Room and Baller Alert and All Hip Hop, and and I love All Hip Hop, shout out to Chuck, but when I see these posts and there's no mental health perspective given, is that their responsibility? No. But when I see it with no context, with no care about what he might be experiencing, or if it is, it's minimal, right? I just look at it as being exploitive. I look at it as being exploitive, and it's something we tend to do with those who experience mental health, especially our celebrities. On Wednesday, it's going to be hundreds of thousands of people tuning in to watch Snoop versus DMX. We laud DMX for his amazing albums, for his prayers in the beginning of songs and how impactful they were. I listened to the best of DMX yesterday when I during my run in 100-degree weather, and I'm sitting there listening to the best of DMX, and I'm like, X was telling us everything that was wrong with him, everything that has him where he is today, and we didn't listen. We didn't care. We used X. We got what we could from him. And then when he could no longer produce at the same level, we discarded of him. Yes, we might keep him in these conversations of one of the best rappers alive that's ever existed. But we don't care about the person. We just look at what the individual can offer. We forget that Kanye is the commodity. Like the person, the actual person is the commodity. Whether he never comes out with another song or never comes out with another whack pair of sneakers or some holy clothes that he charges $400. Like the individual is still the commodity. And again, that's lost in this culture of whether it's these blogs who want to be first to put out information. And what frustrates me about those, the ones that I name, is because they're black ran, right? They're ran by black folk. See, TMZ is ran by Harvey. And so I don't look for white people to show us and present us in a light or care about our wellness. That's not their responsibility. Is it nice? Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool gesture. It's a cool gesture. But I care about how we're presenting one another. And so when we continue to when we present the experiences of Kanye, we present the experience of DMX and Nick Cannon and Tamar, who I'm gonna get into, and we just present them like, oh, yo, this was happening, it's just gossip, when we know that you're profiting off of their experiences. Because if they weren't profitable and their experiences weren't so salacious, then you wouldn't be posting them. But again, it's holding us to a higher standard. And so every time we double click, listen, I go to the shade room to look at stuff, to try and get a chuckle. But I feel convicted every time because I know every like, well, I don't like their posts. I don't like anybody's posts if you haven't noticed. Right? If I follow you on social media, I rarely like posts because I don't think that's authentic. Right? But every view that we offer up, every comment that we offer up is validation. It's validation for them to continue to portray us in a manner that's detrimental to where we're trying to get to. It's like, listen, and you know, I feel conflicted in saying it, but listen, we out here protesting. It's not akin to black on black crime because we recognize where black on black crime stems from. But we can still feel some type of way about it and recognize that it's still counterproductive to the progress that we say we desire. Now, black on black physical crime is a lot more complex and has a lot more layers to it than what the Shade Room, Baller Alert, and all these other places doing it. Right? It's a lot more It's a lot more layers to the physical violence on black bodies than it is to what they're doing and trying to, again, make money. Well, no, because some people can argue that, you know, that capitalism is a hell of a drug. And it's fulfilling the ideals of white supremacy. But again, it's something to be mindful of. Let me see if y'all rapping. See what y'all talking about. Biggest buzz is people at their worst. No, that's facts, Tyree. That's facts. So, and to get into the next topic, right? And again, it's along that same lines of when we talk about mental health. And it was alarming this weekend once I started, you know, doing searches and seeing what's taking place. I see that Tamar Braxton allegedly attempts suicide by drinking alcohol and overdosing on pills. And subsequently, she was found by her boyfriend, who actually doesn't think it was a suicide attempt. Now, and again, I can't speak for him, but this happens a lot within our community. We minimize for whatever reason. We minimize to try and save face, to try and save her reputation as an artist, or to save her public ridicule, instead of embracing it for what it is, which is a teachable moment. When we talk about destigmatizing black mental health, Tamar coming out and saying, listen, that was a suicide attempt. Her boyfriend saying, listen, this was a suicide attempt. That does a lot to destigmatize mental health, because it shows that mental health knows no bounds. It knows no limits. You can be the poorest or you can be the wealthiest. That we're all impacted one way or another. But then I understand him as well. Because again, maybe he needs more information. Maybe he needs to truly understand what it is exactly taking place and the role that he's potentially played in this entire situation. Same thing with Nick Cannon, right? Now, last week, I talked about Nick Cannon and things that he went through with the Jewish community and how he came out and ultimately apologized. He was fired from Viacom, potentially lost his brand wilding out, but he ended up apologizing to the Jewish community, which saw him lose the support of the black community. People posting, calling him a sellout, telling him he shouldn't have went back on his feelings, on his sentiments expressed by having a rabbi on his show, Cannon's class. Again, he's looking like a sellout to the black community. What I see personally is I see somebody who's trying to learn. And what that looks like for each individual is different. He's trying to understand. Him having a rabbi on might solidify his position and where he is. I think that's what makes the mark of somebody who's truly about growth. Like, people come at Dr. Fauci and the CDC for changing their recommendations, right? But that's what science is about. Science is about disproving yourself. And that's the art of growth. The more you want to continue to get more and more and more information, you want to challenge your beliefs, because it'll either solidify it or it'll have you change. There's some posts that I've made, and I go back and look at some of my posts on socials, in particular Instagram, and I'm like, ooh, Phil, no. Not at all. Because you know what you didn't consider? X, Y, and Z. And it's not me flip-flopping. What it is somebody who's thought more, who did more critical thinking. Somebody who's done more research, who's done more reading, to put themselves in a position to say, no, that's not it. That's what we call growth. And again, when we talk about the issue with celebrity, your growth or lack thereof is always on full display. And there's always going to be people there to challenge you at every step of the way. That's why you can't get too high and believe everything that you read about how great you are and how positive that you are. Because there is going to be that segment of population that's going to come at you and tell you and tell you everything that's wrong with you. And it could very well be the same people who told you were great 5 minutes ago. That's the ebb and flows of life. And where we are with social media, we're dealing with the ebb and flows of life on a daily basis. I remember I posted something about Lizzo that I didn't convey in a way that was reflective of how it is that I was feeling. And rightfully, people came at my neck. Again, I couldn't hold myself hostage by what it is that I said and posted. But me being someone who's mindful of my words, because I understand that words matter, I had to take a step back. I had to assess. I had to analyze. Could I be potentially be harming individuals? Could I be potentially Um, uh, could I be potentially what, Phil? Could I be potentially, ostracizing a group of people when that's not what I was aiming to do at all? Could it be even misconstrued as could it be even construed as that? I had to take a step back and assess and analyze. But again, this is if you desire to grow. And so when I look at Nick Cannon, I look at somebody who desires to grow. On Saturday, he experienced the death of a friend, somebody that he was close with, a gentleman by the name of Ryan Powers, who was a gunshot survivor. The police shot him, and apparently it was unwarranted. He died by suicide. And so with that, he posted a long Instagram post talking about how he loved them, about how brave the individual was to come back from learning how to walk again to being able to perform at shows, right? He talks about in post, after waking up and barely rising from my own dark contemplation of continuing my physical existence on this planet, this powerful warrior actually had the balls to do it. And so a few days prior, Nick posted about, and I'm going to get that up there. Nick posted about hurting an entire community and it pained me to the core. I thought it couldn't get any worse. Then I watched my own community turn on me and call me a sellout for apologizing. Good night. Enjoy, Earth. Y'all can have this planet. I'm out. Very cryptic tweets that he sent out. These same tweets made the rounds on the Shade Room, on TMZ, on Baller Alert, on All Hip Hop, on CNN, on all of these places. Someone expressing a suicidal ideation. And even if he wasn't, it's still read as such. And so this is what I talk about, individuals not knowing and not understanding of what to do when somebody's experiencing this. But I'll get to that at the end. And so he came back the next day and made the comments that he made about his friend Ryan Powers. He asked his forgiveness as if he let him down after he successfully completed dying by suicide after multiple attempts. Nick apologized, partially blaming himself that he wasn't present, that he wasn't there for him during that last attempt. Again, we talk about the burdens, we talk about some of the warning signs when it comes to suicide. Suicidal ideations. We talk about the recent and immediate loss of a loved one. We talk about having a life-altering event, whether we deem it so or not. Getting fired by Viacom is enough. Seeing the Jewish community come at your neck, calling you an anti-Semite is enough. Then thinking you're making amends and seeing your own community call you a sellout is enough. It's enough for somebody to say, you know what? I'm tired. I've had enough. Whatever I thought I wanted here on earth and whatever it is that I was seeking, I no longer think I could find here. And so I'm going to search for it in the afterlife, which his friend Ryan Powers did. But I didn't see any posts from these outlets about, listen, somebody needs to contact them ASAP. Adding people who know Nick Cannon, who has Nick Cannon's phone number, to say, listen, we need to get mobile crisis out to Nick Cannon wherever he is so they could do an assessment on his mental health. These same people didn't do that for Kanye. I see T.I., and you know, y'all know I don't feel T.I. I think he's a walking contradiction. But I see T.I. excoriate Kanye for talking about Harriet Tubman in a disparaging manner. And I understand it. But T.I., you've met up with Kanye within recent years. You have a way to contact Kanye. If you wanted to get Kanye's address and send Mobile Crisis to his house so they can do an evaluation to make sure that he's okay, you have the ability to do that. So what are we talking about here? We see a lot of prayers up for people. Prayers don't do a damn thing. And I know for the Christian folk and the Muslim folk, the Buddhist folk, I know that might not sit well with y'all when I say prayer doesn't do a damn thing. Because y'all been praying for Kanye. And what's happened? And I know those of you who know scripture say, well, prayers without works is dead, or whatever the scripture is. That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out. All it is to say I'm not even say it's an attention grab because I can't judge your heart, right? Even though I don't see why putting a prayer saying, you're praying for some X, Y, and Z on socials or doing something, right? When you can just do it, like why you have to be seen about it. But again, that's a conversation for another day. Because we know socials is attention-seeking mechanisms. All right, I just had to get that out there. But the prayers up for Kanye not going to help him work through his bipolar disorder. What it's going to take calls to Mobile Crisis. Now, granted, he might not necessarily accept being evaluated by a professional. That's within his right. But then that's when it takes Kim K and the Jenners and Travis Scott and Ben Simmons, if he's still around, to go fill out the necessary paperwork and say, listen, I feel that he's a danger to himself. He's a danger to others. Or he's having these manic episodes and I'm concerned about his well-being. And let somebody else make the decision whether he needs to be seen by a psychiatrist forthwith. Just like they did when he was going on rants in every city some years back. And they finally said, listen, no, you need to go inpatient. And he was evaluated. We should be doing the same thing with Nick Cannon. If we read the tea leaves, we probably could have been doing the same for Tamar. I watch WeTV and some of the dysfunctional shows at times. The Greenleafs and the marriage boot camps. And I see the commercial for her upcoming series, her reality show. Again, the pressures on these people to perform. I don't know these pressures. I'm not in that limelight. I know it's difficult enough being Phil Roundtree dealing with depression and anxiety on a day-to-day basis in the midst of quarantine. So I can only imagine what it's like for a Tamar who has to deal with rumors, who has to deal with a divorce, who has to deal with co-parenting, who has to have content that's salacious in order to even be on television. Because unfortunately, that's what black folk got to do in order to be seen on our own stations. Right? We got to act the fool to be seen. I wonder how taxing that is on one's mental. And I know some of y'all out there who say, yeah, you know what? Well, listen, man, you get paid the big bucks. Nah, money don't help with that. Clearly money doesn't help with that. And so again, when we see these celebrities, we lose perspective. We lose the recognition that they are just regular people. Hey, listen, man, I'm sitting here talking nonstop. What y'all saying? C.A. Leitra, leader of Idos African Black Solutions, says, but dudes have to mentor sons. Where are the sliding scale rates? I mean, when we talk about mentors, we're talking about one's mental health. Yes, it's important to have a mentor, but it's important to be able to recognize the signs of somebody dealing with a mental health related issue. Like with Tamar, I wonder who was paying attention. Not necessarily to say that you're always going to receive warning signs. And again, if you want some of the warning signs, there's giving away possessions, a change in mood and behavior, posting cryptic tweets. I think they need to update that. Posting cryptic messages. It's not about leaving a suicide note all the time. Now it's letting folk know on social media, listen, I'm done. I'm tired. Being in a jovial mood. Not caring about anything and just saying, listen, I'm at peace, because maybe you have made peace with your existence. And then it's just somebody saying it. Listen, I feel like killing myself. I always say my homies know never to say nothing like that around me. Because my next question is, well, do you have a plan? Oh, Phil, you on that mental health kick? Yes, I am. Because we're dying by suicide at alarming rates. We're dying by suicide at alarming rates. And so it's important that even if we do have a mentor, yes, that's a great thing, having somebody who you can be expressive to. But we also have to recognize the signs. And we can't feel bad if we got to call a mobile crisis unit on somebody. And if you need to know your local mobile crisis phone number, Google local mobile crisis phone number. No need to feel guilty, man, because if we about saving lives. Again, I can't speak for those individuals who've died by suicide. But when you have conversations with those who attempted to die by suicide, they typically say, well, you know what? Yes, I was in the middle of some type of stress, extreme stressor, for whatever extreme is for them. But that has subsided. And they started doing the work. And again, we're not talking about the individuals like Ryan Powers who tried on multiple occasions. Because I can only imagine what it's like to deal with the trauma related to being a gunshot victim and having to learn how to walk again. That requires therapy, extensive therapy. That requires a deep trust, reestablishing a deep trust in humanity and your fellow man. Like, we don't talk about that when we have conversations about those about gunshot survivors or sexual assault survivors. How you have to learn how to trust human beings again. It's a hell of a thing. But those who are successful in regaining some semblance of control of their life, they speak to it being a rash decision in that moment. So, let's see what else y'all talking about. Most just want the world to know that they are against it, but not really care about these guys' well-being. People only for you when you pop. Very sad and scary. I mean, but listen, this is just the way of the world. Like, we have this idea of rugged individualism that exists in America. It exists everywhere, truth be told. But it's not necessarily about the collective. This is where we are in society. And so, again, I can't be mad at people. Right? So even though I could make these remarks about these different blogs who are profiting off the ills, this is what we've created. Like, we can't say that that's them and I'm over here. No, I'm the same way. I'm a part of this. I'm in the Matrix too. I'm all up in it. Don't let me see a First 48 on television. I still turn to it. Sometimes I get convicted enough to turn it off, to recognize that I'm gaining some type of entertainment from black and brown folk being killed. Again, so we all living in glass houses when it comes to not really understanding or recognizing the gravity of the experiences of other individuals. But again, that awareness piece is key. Only Trey Songz asked who has Kanye number. He probably has the ability also to reach out himself. Who knows? Again, when we talk about the Trey Songz, like I saw the Trey Songz, right? And I see, again, we doing this stuff on socials. Like we doing this stuff on socials. That's why it lacks it's just reads as inauthentic. Even though he could still be making phone calls on the back end. But for so many of us, we have to be seen. We have to be seen that we're doing the right thing, that we care, that we're out here. Right? All of this feels nasty. All of this feels nasty. Shout out to my mom who gave the mental health hotline here in Philadelphia, 215-685-6440. Props to you, mama. Thank you very much. What else y'all talking about? And again, y'all could definitely, offer y'all thoughts. It's not a silo, not the night. Rich says it could just been a sincere apology, but of course, we live in times many are very sensitive on the wrong things. But I was talking a lot, Rich, so you got to let me know what you're rapping about if you're still on here, so we can talk about that. He really meant no disrespect to them at all. Just spoke out of turn. Why do we act like we don't make mistakes? Really? Oh, he's a celebrity, supposed to be flawless. I'm not sure who you talking about, Ty. If we talking about Kanye, listen, I don't give Kanye a pass for disrespecting the institution that is Harriet Tubman. I don't give you a pass for that, right? I can understand it, right? And again, I'm not going to speak ill of you, but I don't give you a pass for that, right? Because I recognize that there are still consequences related to that. And that's the same thing with Nick Cannon. There are consequences when you make comments that go against whatever establishment or whatever is deemed to be quote unquote politically correct in 2020. It's consequences that comes with that. Again, but on the opposite end, I recognize that, we all fall short of the glory of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So we all need to be able to extend that grace because we want that grace extended to us. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, again, it could have been very much so been a sincere apology. Again, when we talk about individuals and we talk about the idea of growth, and just people care, like I don't want to upset people, right? Like everybody don't want to be out here upsetting folk and just to be upsetting folk, right? If it's something I believe in, then yeah. But if he comes out and he apologizes, because again, you still want to be able to offer your true thoughts and still not be offensive. It's a hard line to navigate, right? It's a hard line to navigate, and I don't envy that position at all. I made a post today about I don't see Jewish people or white Christians coming out in support of Kanye, or not. I mean, in support of Harriet Tubman rather, and saying, "Listen, let's go to the African American Museum, Kanye, so you could learn." They're not giving a damn about what's taking place, right? So again, these conversations on equality, on learning from others' experiences or what have you. But where are you? Or was this a way to establish what side folk need to be on and what will and will not be tolerated? Again, we should potentially learn from them. Let's see what else. What else y'all talking about? And I got my group coming up in less than 10 minutes, so feel free. I posted it on my IG, the hashtag You Good Man Men's Group. We'll be starting in 10 minutes. Again, a safe space for brothers to have conversation, to have dialogue, so feel free to come through. Again, listen, man, we could talk on this forever. I think if I have any parting shots is to remember to show grace, to remember that, you know, none of us are perfect. We can hold somebody accountable without shaming them, right? You know what I'm saying? We can hold people accountable and not hold them hostage by their missteps. We need to truly, if we gonna have this conversation about mental health, then we need to have these conversations about mental health. And it's not the ones that are pretty and that are sexy like depression and anxiety. But there's also bipolar disorder. There's schizophrenia. There's oh man, don't get me. You know, we got ADHD. We got oh man, we got ODD. We got conduct disorder, which they give a lot to our young black boys who are trying to learn and understand themselves. But because they might act out in a physical manner, right, they have conduct disorder. Like, if we're going to have these conversations about black mental health and mental health, we need to go there. We need to go there about obsessive compulsive disorder. That's not only about the actions that you do, the compulsivity of washing your hands over and over, or having a specific ritual, but also about perseverating thoughts over and over and over again in your mind that you can't shake, right? Again, if we're going to have these conversations, we got to have these conversations. But the fact of the matter is, we know that a lot of people, and I talk about the historical trauma that black folk experience. I talk about the modern day trauma that black folk experience. I subjected myself to that earlier in the day, where I watched a guy literally kill 4 people in a span of 15 seconds. And I knew what the video was going to be, but curiosity had me press it anyway. And so we know about the trauma that comes from viewing trauma. And we know that trauma is one of the biggest influences of black mental health. We know that it can trigger bipolar. And so when people say Kanye lost his mom, that could have triggered him. For sure. But not necessarily. Right? And so again, if we're going to have these conversations, we need to have these conversations. It's incumbent upon us black folk who are in the know, who are aware, to not only just post about anxiety and post about depression, but post about the unsexy diagnoses that impact black folk. But listen, man, that's what we got for today. I'm about to get ready to go on this group. Feel free, again, check out. I posted on my socials the Zoom login informations. If you come through, it's love. Appreciate you. If not, it's all love anyway. You know, we create platforms. We never know who's gonna show up. We never know who's gonna benefit from it. But hopefully, whatever I said today made some sense and it clicked for y'all. So listen, man, I'll catch y'all tomorrow, because I do got some stuff I want to talk about. Because, you know what I mean, shout out to my man Jimmy Butler, and shout out to the NFL for hopefully not playing this season. I would definitely hope that the NFL, I got a couple minutes. Listen, I don't want the NFL to play. I don't want baseball to play. I don't want basketball to play, because we're right in the midst of a pandemic. We're right where we were in March when they shut the studio down like Diddy did to the band. And I keep making this reference because it's real. The numbers are even higher. They're even higher than where we were. And so people talk about Trump being nonsense and whatever he's saying about it's not that bad out there. It's not that bad out there. When I see y'all, a lot of y'all are out here in these streets reinforcing exactly what the wrong information that Trump is spewing, because y'all out here. I know it's summertime. I know it's beautiful out. I know you want to get your tans. I know you want to be around your peoples and be at the happy hours and all that jazz. But listen, man, folk dying. Folk having permanent lung damage. Having permanent heart damage. Having permanent health issues. Some people are recovering. And so ultimately, I think we're going to get to the point where the studios get shut down again. But I'm going to go into that tomorrow, man. All right, I'll catch y'all tomorrow, and look forward to seeing y'all who decide to tune into the group. Peace.